students, it's time to move on to the next lesson. So today we're going to be talking about lesson number 27 here at Modern English Proficiency Level. And today we're going to be talking about job jumping or second jobs. Alright? So before we do that, let's have a look at the warm-up. Repeat after me, please. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would chuck wood? Okay, one more time. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would chuck wood? Wow, that's a fun one, isn't it? This is a really old-fashioned kind of tongue twister. Let's talk about some of the meaning here. How much wood? Well, what is wood? You get wood from a tree, right? You chop a tree down, the tree is made out of wood, right? Now, a woodchuck, this is just a small animal, a small furry animal called a woodchuck. I can't show you a picture of it. Maybe your teacher can look it up for you and show you a picture in a dictionary or an encyclopedia, but that's a woodchuck, all right? And also, chuck can have two meanings. Now, woodchuck is just the name of an animal, but if you chuck something, this is another way to say throw something. Chuck something at somebody. Chuck a ball at somebody. It could be just like throw, okay? Or chuck could also be slang for throwing something away. Throwing something in the garbage or in the rubbish can would be chuck something. And also we're talking about the two different spellings of wood, all right? These sound the same, but they're spelled differently. Wood, W-O-O-D, of course, is wood in a tree, and wood, W-O-U-L-D. Would would mean I will do something, or I'd like to do something. I would like to eat something, okay? So, once again, wood can mean what you get out of a tree when you cut a tree down. A woodchuck, a small furry animal, and finally chuck can mean to throw something or to throw something away. Okay, so let's say that one more time. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would chuck wood? Okay, very good. Let's move on to the next part, please. Okay, so for this portion of the class, we're going to have a small quiz to see what you learned during the warm-up. So my first question for you is, what does the word wood mean? Next question, what is a woodchuck? Tell me what a woodchuck is. Is it an animal? Is it a vegetable? Is it a mineral? Just tell me what a woodchuck is. Last question, what does the word chuck mean? Okay, folks, now it's on to the interesting idioms. So, we're going to learn ways to talk about second jobs, or job jumping. Well, what do I mean by job jumping? Maybe you work one job during the day, and perhaps at the night, you work another job. That would be having a second job. Job jumping would maybe be going from one job to another job. Maybe I don't like working here so much, so I'm going to quickly jump to another job. I'm going to jump to another job. I'm going to go to a different place to work. That would be job jumping. So job jumping and second job. Second job, just what the name implies, another job to supplement your first job. So let's read the first sentence. To be busy as a bee. Okay? One more time. To be busy as a bee. So we could probably say he is as busy as a bee, or she is as busy as a bee. Now, this goes along with, well, you know, in the United States we have some animals that symbolize things, right? We have like a pig. A pig is a greedy animal. Also a fat animal, so you could say as fat as a pig, as greedy as a pig. A horse, on the other hand, very strong animal. You could say, I'm as strong as a horse, or I'm as healthy as a horse, okay? Strong, or health, comes from a horse. Now, a bee. Think about a bee. What is a bee? A bee, it's a little mifeng, right? Yeah, a bee flying around. A bee never sits still. You can never see a bee sitting somewhere reading a magazine, can you? It's always moving around, trying to do something, right? So that's why we get this idea that a bee is a very busy kind of creature. It's always flying from flower to flower to flower, then back to its home, then flying around again. So a bee is a busy kind of creature. So if you say somebody is as busy as a bee, you just mean they're doing, well, they're just working around like a bee, walking from place to place to place, or running around, never sitting still. That would be as busy as a bee, okay? And busy means, of course, you're working all the time, you're not resting, you're busy, all right? So let's look at the next sentence. To be Girl Friday, okay? One more time. To be Girl Friday. Well, I'm not even too sure what this means exactly, but people have told me that this has some reference to an old movie or something like that. But in this movie, Girl Friday was a secretary, I believe. So if you're talking about Girl Friday, you're talking about someone who's a secretary. Of course, Friday, a day of the week, the day after Thursday, but the day before Saturday. Very good. Okay, so that would be used to describe a secretary, okay? And I'm told that it's a derogatory way to describe a secretary. I have no idea. I've never seen this movie. So let's read it one more time. To be Girl Friday. All right, excellent. Let's move on to the next one. One should always be looking for a job. Okay, one more time. One should always be looking for a job. Okay, what does this mean? You should always be searching for a job. Even if you have a job, maybe you should be looking for a better job. Maybe you should get your resume out there, or CV as we like to call it here. Your resume, right? It shows all the work that you've done in the past. You write it up on a nice piece of paper and you say, here's where I worked from 1987 to 1988, here's where I worked from 1988 to 1989, etc., etc., etc. That's your resume, right? It shows all the different jobs you've held throughout the past. Now, if we think you should always be looking for a job, well, you could look for a job when you're out of work, or you could look for a job while you're in work. Even if you have a job right now, you should probably be looking for a better job, right? So anyway, one more time. One should always be looking for a job. And always means what? It means at all times, right? Never stop. Always do something. You should always breathe, right? Don't stop breathing. You'll probably die. Okay, so let's do that one more time. One should always be looking for a job. Okay, good. Let's go on to the next one. It's easier to be fired than hired. Okay, that's pretty catchy, isn't it? It rhymes. It's easier to be fired than hired. Well, this is true, too. This holds true for pretty much any job. It's easier to get fired, isn't it? What's it mean when you get fired? That means that you get canned, you get axed, you get thrown away. They kick you out the door. You no longer have a job. Your boss fires you. It's pretty easy to get fired, isn't it? I bet all of you could think of a good way to get fired from a job. All you'd have to do is walk up to your boss and tell them off. Tell them what you really think of them. Probably a good way to get fired. Now, hired. What does hired mean? Well, if you get hired, that means somebody picks you to do a job and will pay you. I got hired today, and I'm now working at McDonald's, okay? Hired and fired. Opposites, right? You get hired, you get fired. Now, you can also quit your job, too. Now, this is different than getting fired. If you quit your job, you decide you don't want to work there anymore, kind of like firing your boss, right? So, let's read this sentence one more time. It's easier to be fired than hired. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? It is easier to be fired than hired. Well, let's go through these one more time. To be busy as a bee, okay? Once again, busy means what? You're working all the time. You're never resting. You never stop. You're busy. And once again, a bee, in the United States at least, is thought to be a very busy kind of creature, always moving from place to place, never settling down. That's a busy kind of creature. All right, let's look at the next one again. To be Girl Friday, okay? No idea what this means really, but we can still learn the pronunciation. To be Girl Friday. Okay, very good. Let's go on to the next one. One should always be looking for a job. Okay, one more time. One should always be looking for a job. All right, remember? Looking, searching for something. What are you looking for? What are you searching for? Well, I lost my car keys. I'm looking for my car keys now. All right? So, and always, at all times, right? You should always do this. You should never stop this. Always search for a job. Okay? Always look for a job. Let's look at the last sentence there. It's easier to be fired than hired. Okay? And one more time. It's easier to be fired than hired. All right. And once again, what does this mean? Fired. You get fired, your boss fires you. Your boss takes your job away, kicks you out the door. That's how you get fired. And hired, that means you get a new job. Your new boss says, okay, I want you to work for my company. That's hired. So hired and fired. Let's read that one more time. It's easier to be fired than hired. Okay, good. Okay, now that we've completed the interesting idioms, let's have a short quiz on the words that we've learned. First question, what does the word busy mean? What does it mean if I'm busy? Next question, what does the word always mean? Next question, what does it mean to be looking for something? Next question. What's it mean to be fired? If I tell you I got fired, what's that mean? Last question. What does it mean to get hired?
Morning, Ken. Morning, Mara. Ah, the sweet smell of coffee.
Nice and hot, Frank. Can I pour you a cup?
Thanks. So I heard Jason isn't with us anymore?
Left yesterday. That guy has a new job every few months.
He's working for another company in the valley, I understand. He's lucky to keep finding jobs.
Apparently, he gets off one job and goes straight to another. Been doing it for years.
Sooner or later, the fact that he's a real job jumper may catch up with him.
I agree with you. Most companies think twice before hiring someone that can't hold down a job.
On the other hand, I have some friends who can keep a steady job, but have trouble making ends meet with just one job. One of them has worked 2 jobs for years.
That's okay, but some companies frown on moonlighting, especially when there's a conflict of interest involved.
Well, I'm glad to have a good steady job. I'm not interested in looking elsewhere right now.
All right, folks, now let's continue on to the 10 sentences portion of our lesson today. So today we're talking about job jumping or second jobs. Let's learn some ways to express these ideas. Let's learn some vocabulary about job jumping or second jobs. Okay, let's look at the first sentence. Number 1, repeat after me. I can't hold a job down, but I'd say hold down a job if I was saying this in spoken English. But let's try that one more time, just like in the book. I can't hold a job down. Okay, good. So what's it mean to hold a job down? This just means to keep a job, to hold a job down or hold down a job. Just means to keep a job, to be able to do it and keep that job. So let's read that one more time. I can't hold a job down. Okay, excellent. Let's look at the next one. Number 2. He's always in and out of jobs. Okay, good. Let's do that one more time. He's always in and out of jobs. Okay, what's this mean? What's it mean to be in and out of jobs? Well, this just means you're a job jumper. You go from job to job to job. You go into one job, and then you go back out again. And then you go into another job, and you go back out again. Do I have to keep going? No. You can understand this, can't you? This means you're a job jumper. You go from one job to another job. So let's read that sentence one more time. He's always in and out of jobs. Okay, good. Let's move on to the next one. Number 3. She's always changing jobs. Okay? One more time. She's always changing jobs. Okay, so what's this mean? Why, this means the exact same thing that the one before it meant. Change something means to switch, okay? You're switching jobs. You're going from job to job to job. So let's say that one more time. She's always changing jobs. Okay, there's maybe one more way to say this in a different manner. Does anybody know it? No. Okay, well, let's look at our book because we have one more way to say the exact same thing. All right? Number 4. That guy has a new job every week. Okay? And one more time. That guy has a new job every week. Okay, so the meaning is he changes jobs every single week. Now you can use this in a variety of ways. You can say, I like to go to the bar and get drunk every week. That just means I do it once a week. That's the frequency we're talking about here, right? Frequency. I do it every week. Or I wake up every day. Okay? I eat lunch every day. I have 3 meals every day. We're talking about frequency. How often? I do something every month. That means I do it once a month. If I do it every day, that means I do it once every day. And if I do it every week, that means I do it every week. Why? You could even say you do something every year, couldn't you? Yes, you could. So let's read that sentence one more time. That guy has a new job every week. Okay, good. Now, just when you thought we couldn't think of another way to say the exact same thing, well, we went and did it. So let's look at sentence number 5. Repeat after me. He just can't keep a steady job. Okay, one more time. He just can't keep a steady job. Okay, well, we do have one important phrase here. A steady job. What is a steady job? Well, a steady job is a job that you can work at for a long time, okay? That's called job security. If it's a job that will stay around for a long time, it's a steady job. Now, if your job is raking up leaves in a park, That's not a steady job, is it? Because the leaves only fall off a tree once a year. After the leaves are gone, you no longer have a job. If your job is to shovel snow off of a sidewalk, that's not a very steady job either, is it? Because the snow only falls during the winter. In the summer months, what kind of job will you have? You can't shovel snow in the summer, can you? So a steady job is something you can do all year and something you can do for a long time. That's a steady job. Okay, so let's look at that one more time. He just can't keep a steady job. Okay, excellent. Let's move on to number 6. Every time I see you, you have a different job. Okay, one more time. Every time I see you, you have a different job. All right, so this may seem exactly like the sentence before it, and the one before that, and before that, but this way we're just personalizing it a little bit. We can use this to talk to somebody, right? You can say this to somebody every time I see you. Now you can use this structure in a number of different ways too. Every time I see you, you have a new shirt. Every time I see you, you have different shoes on. Every time I see you, you have a new piece of jewelry. You're wearing a different kind of ring. So every time I see you just means every time, between the time I saw you last, something is different, okay? So let's read that one more time. Every time I see you, you have a different job. And what's different mean? Different is the opposite of same, right? Different. It means you change something. It's different. All right, let's look at the next one, number 7. This job is way better than my last job. Okay, one more time. This job is way better than my last job. Okay, so we're talking about your last job, the job you had before this. Now, if you say something is way better means what? This means much better. It means it's a lot better than what it was before. So this is kind of like slang, okay? You could say, today the weather is way better than it was yesterday. Or you could say, this meal is way better than what we ate yesterday for lunch, right? Way better just means a lot better, right? Much better. So let's read that sentence one more time. This job is way better than my last job. Okay, excellent. Let's move on to number 8. I also have a part-time job. Okay, one more time. I also have a part-time job. Now, what is a part-time job? A part-time job is just a job that you do part of the time. It's not a full-time job. You don't do this every day, all day. That would be a full-time job. A part-time job is just something you can do for a little while every day. Maybe you have a full-time job, but on the night, in the evening, you also have a part-time job. Just a job that you can do for part of the time. A part-time job. So let's read that one more time. I also have a part-time job. All right, excellent. Let's move on to the next one. Number 9. She's worked 2 jobs for years. Okay, one more time. She's worked 2 jobs for years. Boy, this one's difficult. She's worked 2 jobs. Just means she's had 2 jobs at the same time and 4 years. You can use this for anything. I've been teaching here 4 years. I've worked here for years. Just means for many, many years. So let's read that one more time. She's worked 2 jobs for years. Okay, good. Let's go on to the next one. Number 10. I get off one job and go straight to another. Okay, one more time. I get off one job and go straight to another. So what's it mean to get off a job? If you get off a job, that just means you're done with the job at night. You go home at night, you got off the job. If you go straight to another, that means you don't go home. If you go straight somewhere, it means you don't go somewhere else first. So if I finish this job and go straight to another job, I'll just stop here and go to another company and start working again. I don't even go home for a little rest. That's going straight somewhere, okay? So let's read that one more time. Number 10. I get off one job and go straight to another. All right, guys, now it's time for our short little quiz. We're going to talk about some of these words that we learned. First of all, what does it mean to hold down a job or to hold a job down? What am I talking about? Next question. If I say I'm often in and out of jobs, I'm always in and out of jobs, what do I mean? Next question. What does the word changing mean? Next question, if I say I have a steady job, what kind of job is that? next question, what does the word different mean? Next question, if I say something is way better, what do I mean? Last question, if I say I have a part-time job, what does this? Okay guys, now it's time for a joke. So I'm going to read you a funny joke today, okay? Little humor for you. First of all, this joke is called An Amazing Connection with God. So it's a God joke, another kind of joke. God joke, Jesus joke, right? A lot of jokes like this, blonde joke. But let's go ahead and read this joke, okay? A 70-year-old man goes to the doctor for a checkup. What's a checkup? Just means check his body, see if he's okay, right? The doctor runs some tests and says to the man, well, everything seems to be fine physically, but what about mentally? How is your connection with God? And the man says, oh, God and me? We're close. We have a real bond. He's good to me. Every night when I have to get up and go to the bathroom, he turns on the light for me. And then when I leave, he turns it back off. Well, when he heard this, the doctor was surprised. He called the man's wife and said, I'd like to speak to you about your husband's connection with God. He says that every night when he needs to use the restroom, God turns on the light for him and turns it off again when he leaves. Is this true? And the lady says, that idiot, he's been peeing in the refrigerator. Okay, so a couple of things we have to cover. A checkup. When you go to get a checkup, the doctor checks all parts of your body, right? Now he says you're fine physically, your body's okay, but how about mentally? How about your brain? All right, so the guy says, well, he wants to know about his connection. What's his relationship like with God, okay? And he says, well, our relationship is really close. We're close, right? Close together. We have a real bond. If you have a bond, you're very close, right? A bond like glue. You're stuck together, right? Every night when he goes to the bathroom, he turns the light on for me. And then when I leave, he turns it back off. So anyway, well, the way it ends up is he's been peeing in the refrigerator all over the food. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay guys, so as you well know, today's topic was job jumping or second jobs. Well, a lot of people in the United States have to work a second job just to make ends meet. What does that mean? If you want to make ends meet, that means you need enough money to go to school, you need enough money to eat, you need enough money to live. That's making ends meet, just being able to pay for everything you want to buy in your life. So a lot of people take a second job, but there's also a lot of people that like to do some job jumping, especially when you're young. A lot of people switch jobs a lot. I believe it's a statistic that a lot of people will change careers or at least change their line of work at least 7 times in their lifetime. A lot of time you go to school for one reason and then you end up doing something completely different than what you thought you'd be doing with your life. So you can go from job to job to job until you find exactly what it is that you're supposed to do in life. Now, there are good ways to do this and there are bad ways to do it. Some people kind of have a reputation of being flighty, somebody that will jump from one place to another really quickly. And there's also another type of person that does something called burning their bridges. Okay, there's 2 different ways you can quit a job. One way would to be, you'd be nice. You'd give the boss maybe 2 weeks notice. You get everything all tied up and finished before you leave. That's giving notice, right? If you say, I'm going to give notice, that just means I'm telling you, the boss, that I'm going to quit in about 2 weeks. Now in China, it's usually about a month, something like that. If you want to quit your job, you should probably tell your boss a little bit ahead of time so they have time to look for a replacement for you. But there's another way to go about this. You could go ahead and do what's called burning your bridges. If you burn your bridges, well, think about this. When you cross a bridge, then all of a sudden you light a match and burn the thing down, so you can't go back the way you came from. That's called burning your bridges. So if you do this, it would be just like you stop your job. You quit like that, on a whim, on a moment's notice. You don't give your boss any chance to find a replacement. Then you'll probably get what's known as a bad reputation around the work world, right? The next boss will maybe call your old boss and say, how about this guy? No, he's no good. Don't hire him. Anyway, let's talk about recommendations, okay? If you want to go from one job to another job, it's often very useful to have a recommendation. This is where your old boss will write a piece of paper for you and say, yeah, he's a good student or he's a good worker, he's good at his job, you should hire him. A recommendation can also just be an oral recommendation, like word of mouth. You can put your old boss down as a reference if you want to apply for another job. A reference is somebody that the new boss can call and ask, how about this guy? How did he work out? Was he a good employee for you? That's a reference, okay? So references and also recommendation, if he wrote you something in writing to say that you're a good employee or not. So anyway, a few things we talked about here. Job jumping, second jobs. Also remember, burning your bridges. If you burn your bridges, that just means you make it so there's no way you could ever go back. Remember, if you quit your job like that, maybe if you tell your boss off, you walk up to your boss and you tell him what you really think about him, that would be a way to burn your bridges. Also a really quick way to get fired. But you could just go ahead and say, yeah, I quit before he can fire you. Get a little revenge on the boss you don't like. Anyway, a couple things we talked about. I hope you enjoyed this cultural section. On to the next part. Alright guys, now it's time to take a look at some kick-ass English. So, first thing I want you guys to say is behave. Okay, one more time. Behave. Alright, when would you say this? Well, you'd say this when you want somebody to stop being bad, right? Maybe your kid is doing something not very nice. You could say, behave yourself, right? Calm down. Some other ways to say this. You could say, be on your best behavior, right? If you're on your best behavior, that just means you're acting as good as you can possibly act. You're on your best behavior. You could also say, act your age. This is something I used to get when I was younger. My mother would tell me to act my age. If you act your age, that means you act like how old you are. Maybe you're 10 years old, but you're not a very good child. You're always acting out, you're always crying, running around. You're acting like a 4-year-old. So somebody could tell you, act your age. You're 10 years old. Stop acting like that. Okay? So, one more time, let's say, behave. All right, just means behave yourself. That means behave in a civil manner. Don't be so crazy. Okay? Let's take a look at the next one. This one is wishy-washy. Okay? One more time. Wishy-washy. Now this is very similar to somebody that's shaky. Remember we had he is shaky before. Wishy-washy is the same kind of deal. Somebody doesn't know exactly what they're going to do. Do you want to come with me tonight? Yes, I did. No, yeah, no, yeah. Remember, change your mind a lot. You don't know if you're going to do it. That's wishy-washy. Now you could also use this to describe a person that you don't trust. You could say that car salesman is kind of wishy-washy. I don't trust him. I don't think I can trust that guy. He's wishy-washy, okay? You could also say, now if you're talking about somebody that can't make up their mind, that can't make a decision, you could also say that somebody is on the fence. Have you ever heard of this before? I could say, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to join my company or not? You could say, well, I'm still on the fence. What does this mean? It means I can't make a decision, yes or no. Do you know what a fence is? A fence is something that, like a wall that surrounds something, right? If you're on the fence, think about this is the fence, right? You're climbing over the fence and then you stop right about here. You're half over and half not over it. You're on the fence, so you can't decide yes or no. You're on the fence, right? Another way to say that. So let's say the original saying one more time, wishy-washy, okay? You could say somebody is wishy-washy. They can't make up their mind or they're untrustworthy, okay? Let's have a look at the next one. Get out, okay? One more time. Get out. All right, when would you say get out? Well, this can be in two different ways. Probably the way you know is if somebody is in your room and you don't want them to be in your room, you can say get out, leave, right? Get out of here. But another way to do this is if you don't believe somebody. If you're expressing disbelief, you could tell somebody to get out. You could tell somebody, I don't believe you by saying get out. I could say, I just earned $3,000 yesterday and all I had to do was surf on the internet. You could say, get out. I don't believe you. That's not true. Get out, okay? Well, let's look at the next one, huh? Why don't we? Yeah. The next one. I got stuck. Okay? One more time. I got stuck. All right, what we're talking about here is a traffic jam. Do you know what a traffic jam is? If you're driving your car and the traffic all stops, you're stuck in a traffic jam. So you can use this for an excuse. If somebody asks you, why are you late to work today? It's 9 o'clock. You were supposed to be here at 7. You could say, well, I got stuck in a traffic jam. I got stuck. All right, you can use this another way too. If you go home and your wife asks you, why are you home so late tonight? Well, I got stuck at work. I had a little extra work to do, so I got stuck there. I couldn't leave. Okay? That's I got stuck. All right, guys, now it's time to take a look at the good practice session of today's lesson. what I want you to do is get together with a partner, 2 people in a group, and I want you to discuss. Actually, I want you to have a little role play, okay? Think about it this way. You and your friend want to go to California, all right? You know where California is, right? The westernmost state in the United States. You want to go for a trip there, but you can't afford it. You don't have enough money to go there, right? You can't afford it with what you both make. Your jobs put together can't earn enough money to buy a ticket to go to California. So, what I want you to do is talk to each other about your jobs and discuss taking on more work. Talk about different jobs you could get to supplement your first job. Talk about some extra jobs you could get. Maybe you want to get a second job. Where do you want to work? Do you want to work at McDonald's during the night? Sure, that's a great place to work. So anyway, get together with your friend. Pretend you're planning a trip to California and talk about picking up an extra job to earn a little more money. All right? So get together with that partner and go.